Buddy. All right, welcome everybody. This is the Newmark Crit Masters 40 and 50 plus. I am Rob, and I am on ZWS Brilliant Advice, and we have three guys on my team: me, Pip, and Matt. At least on the 40 plus. And then on the 50 plus on our team is Sean, Mark, and Chip. And as you can see, that's Matt on our right-hand side. Those are our kits with the white and the black. And Matt was off the front and then got counterattacked. And what I'm doing here is just following Griner. He is a stud. He's from Gisalo. And he is in the process of sewing this attack back up. Our plan for the 40 plus between Pip, Matt, and I was to Pip and I would be really active, trying to get in different breakaways, and Matt was also going to be active. And as you can see, he was already initiating that first break. And there's really three guys we wanted to look out for in the 40 plus. The first guy's blue butt is right in front of us, and that is Griner, and you'll hear me compliment him quite a bit because he's a time trial freak, and I mean that in the most complimentary way. He pulls this thing back. So he's one rider. Bo is another rider. He's on KBB Auto Trader. They work called Mariner, so if I call him Mariner, that's what they were. He's on a red bike. I'll point him out. And then the last one is Jamie, call him Flembo, and he's on Cleveland Cycling. So this thing gets pulled back together. Our strategy in the race was, again, not only be active, but at the end have Pip. He's a really good bike handler and sprinter, better sprinter than I am, was to stay on, and maybe I'd take a flyer and he'd follow. But there was a lot of racing to happen. Once you see we caught the breakaway here, I counterattack. On these corners, I really try to, if you take them wide and then hit the apex and then go wide again, you could pretty much pedal through them, which worked out many times and also got a gap. You see a Gisalo rider there, Jason. He's going for a preem. There were a bunch of preems in this race, and it was difficult to figure out whether it was the 40 or 50 plus. Actually had a pretty big cash prize, but I wasn't. I was paying less attention to that and more trying to get in the breaks. And so with Jason up the road on that sprint and that rider behind, we end up forming really the first breakaway that got away for more than a few hundred meters. So we get established, and then the three of us are starting to roll. The other, I don't know if Jason's 40 plus or 50 plus, but I know that rider there, I believe, is 50 plus. And so I don't know if this break's gonna stick, but we have a gap. Maybe the group behind us thinks it's not gonna stick and gives us a little bit of a rope, but anyway, it was good to get away and start to work together. We're going, as we go up this backside of the course, it's a headwind, but it's going a little bit left to right, and then obviously the opposite is true through the start-finish straight. You can see I get into I'm a triathlete as of last year, so trying to figure out my way through this road race scene. But I still love getting into an aero position, and it helps my back, it helps my power, and it helps my aero position. But, you know, I was doing, it felt like I was having to power through some of this rotation. And as you'll see, we end up getting caught, but we're out there for a few laps. I mean, we're only lap 4 of 26. So there's a long way to go. Some of these, when you have the audio on this, try to turn it down a little bit, but there's these seams in the road. It's an awesome place for a race. It's a flat office park, and the only trouble is I don't know when they've fully paved this road before. The good news is they did fix a manhole cover that literally last year ate 3 different carbon rims, because guys are just in a peloton and forget it's there and things happen and it just got smashed. So the big manhole eater is gone, but there's still 6 or 7 of them out there. So again, I take another pull, trying to stay away. Thanks to my teammates, because I know they're doing their job in the group behind us, getting to the front and slowing it down so that we can get some more distance. So Sean, Mark, and Chip, Matt, thanks for that. I'd say thanks to Pip, but usually he's bridging versus slowing anything down, which you'll see he does here. Half the time Pip bridges and I don't even know that all of a sudden, like a magician, he appears. It's like, how did you get here? I didn't even see you back there. So this is Jason. This is Gisalo's race. So I was hoping we could make it, and then he gets on the podium for his own race. So I really try to take these turns wide again, so you can pedal through and keep the power. Not every rider was doing that, which is a little frustrating in the break, but yeah, everybody's doing different stuff. So also trying to take the inside line, taking the shortest distance from A to B, but on this course, it's hard to do. You know, I feel like I should be a little to the right here, edging straight over, but then you get into the manhole maze, and actually on the side of the road, it felt less. Those seams feel less deep. So getting to lap 6, we're just not going fast enough. I mean, my power spiked there, but that was just to get on board. And this rider, he's in the 50 plus, so I would love for this to stick, but I really want to get outside. Try to pedal through these turns to keep it hot. It was a perfect day in Ohio. We're just south of Dayton, and it was probably 75. Not a lot of humidity. And while there is a wind, again, we're going into the headwind left to right. It wasn't that bad. I mean, it was under 10 miles an hour, maybe under 7. Enough that you feel it, but it was just an awesome day. This rider had some pop. I gotta learn his name. He's a good guy to roll with. And then I think this is the lap where I turn around and friggin' Houdini, my teammate, appears. Yeah, there he is. Boom. Comes out of nowhere. I've recorded this a couple times and made mistakes, so can't remember what I've said, but Pip had bronchitis this week and had enough Benadryl to have a horse fall asleep the night before, so he actually got some sleep. But he wasn't feeling great. He was coughing and cramping before the race. He said, I don't know if I've got it. But then he was doing these crazy bridge attempts. I'm thinking, okay, he's feeling great. But he was in the hurt locker all day, but you couldn't tell. He was really strong today. So at this point, we're, I'm looking back. I think we put one more dig in, but we know it's coming back. With two of us away and not represented with the proper teams, it's just they're gonna pull us back. We're not even halfway through. And there's Bo. So that's Bo. That's the other marked rider. Really strong. Now we're at a lap 26. You can see we start crawling, which means somebody's going to attack. And there's our boy Matt on my team. And I'm ready to let this go. But then I see Griner go. And I know Griner's going to want to pull this back. And he does. And then just attacks through. So I'm glad I'm on his wheel. So that's a good attack, counterattack, and then Griner's on it. I mean, he's pulling us 32 miles an hour, and I'm doing 250 to 300 in his draft. Now it starts, and then it slows down. So that got pulled back. I didn't know if he was going to go, because he's got power for days. And that just wasn't gonna go. This is a good example. Now we're on lap 15, so things are getting down. Chip's ahead of me. This is where no matter where you're at in the pack, if you're helping Mark attacks, it just makes the elasticity through the whole race easier. So Chip goes. And then Mr. Aerodynamics follows him, and I follow him, and then the Aeromaster General sees, whoa, we can make a dive at this, and I jump on his wheel. This guy's really strong. I think he does a lot of time trials, from what I've heard. And he's on it, but I think I had been in enough breaks at this point that and it wasn't the right composition, so I was just sitting on. He's pushing it hard. We're going 29 into the wind, and then we realize it's not going to make it. He wants me to come around, but this is one where I actually didn't work in the break. There were some of the deleted scenes where I took flyers that I really shouldn't have. Guys that were either in the 50 plus or just not the right composition, or teams not represented, where making a break didn't really make sense, or following the break, or going back together. So that got all brought back. So lap 18, I followed this guy, as I mentioned, a lot because one, his strength, and you just never know when he's going to go. And if he gets away, he can be a solo threat. So get on the inside of this guy, and he's looking hangry. It's 700 watts in his draft, 32 miles an hour. That's D-ball on the left. And Griner's just going to say, thanks for the pull, and this is where I'm glad I'm on his wheel, because if I wasn't, we may never see him again. And he's gone. And he rolls past my guy Mark, who had his tool bag on the back of his bike bag on the back of his bike. because he's so strong. He needs to level the playing field. Anyway, Greiner's going 34, 33 miles an hour. 250 to 300 watts in his draft, 300 plus, and he's just smashing it. We ripped through this turn. I don't know if we could pedal at 32 through the turn, but we hold our speed, and this is where he's just a stud. He looks back. We have a little gap. There's 2 guys following us, which end up being Flembo, as I mentioned, one of the riders we're watching, and a guy from V3. So the 4 of us are now away, and I mean, Greiner just made an awesome attack there, and that's a sweet attack. I come through. I mean, he did 800 meters. He did half the course. I had a teammate tell me he wasn't impressed with my watts. Thanks, Todd. I'm just kidding. I'm about 152 to 155 pounds. So for me, anything in the 3s is good. So there goes Greiner again. V3. So this V3 guy just got to us, and then Flembo's on my tail. And now we got a good group, especially with Greiner. I don't know this guy from V3 that's in front of me. He ended up being pretty cheeky, as they say, as you'll see at the end. Barking out orders just to kind of make sure we're not that these guys have to listen to me, but at least have some continuity and everyone feels motivated, because we've got a gap. We're missing Bo, which is fine with me because he's a really good sprinter, and I would love to keep this thing away from him and his team. And what I didn't know, which I saw a little bit later at this point, I didn't know, but Bo was chasing. So somebody had led out, Bo followed, and then he bridged, which you'll see in a bit. And that's a really big attempt. Anyway, back to the watts thing. I'm a bit of a lighter guy for a Masters, and so my watts they're not that awesome, Todd. I'm sorry. So when I'm doing 300, I'm working, and anytime I'm above 170 heart rate, I'm really working. So I'm screaming at him now because I didn't want Bo to catch us. And then who's on the left? That's Bo. 6'4" or 5 on that red bike. At the Ohio State Crit Championships last year for our age group, Bo won it. He was in first. Flembo, who's behind me in the white Cleveland Cycling Academy, was second, and I was third. So there's a bit of a rivalry between us. Oh, I hit that. There's one little hole. And every other time I avoided it, I hit it there. So we're working pretty good. Everyone's motivated. Bo's motivated. Flembo's motivated. V3's motivated as well. The one surprise that I didn't know was Houdini shows up, and I think it's after this turn. I didn't even see him coming. And it's sometimes hard when you've got 3 or 4 guys behind you in a break, and you're trying to work, and by the time you get back on, I probably need to do a better job of paying attention when I'm at the back where I've got visibility. But my boy Pip was bridging like a maniac. And if I would have known that, I probably would have soft rolled this a little bit more and let him catch. So my bad on that one. As they roll through here, I think it is. So Bo's rolling through, then Flembo, then Griner. And I tell V3, come on, get up there. And then I see Pip's smiling face. And once Pip comes around, Bo looks back, and I heard him even, he even kind of announced to the group, like, I'm done. Because now there's two of our team, ZWS, Brilliant Advice, and Bo's a sprinter. Bo's going to sit on, because he's got teammates in the back. And the rest of us have some motivation now to work. I don't want to get caught because we've got an advantage with 2 in the break. So my job now is make this thing stick, keep these guys motivated, knowing that Bo's going to be on my wheel and Pip's going to be on his wheel. And then, like we had planned from the beginning, if this happens, I'm going to take a flyer and then force Bo to follow me, and then have Pip glued to his wheel. And right now Pip and Bo are resting. They're in the back, just not taking pulls, while Griner, Flembo, and the V3 guy and I are smashing. Now, even though we're well represented on teams, because it's a 40 plus, 50 plus, the 50 plus guys are starting to wind up their sprint. Because there's no 50 plus guys in this. So they're all ramping up their pace. We're holding our pace. But if we start to play around, they're going to catch us. And in fact, we start to see them slowly making the move. And that's why we've got to stay on it. So, again, to really try to hold this from the point A to point B to the apex of this slight turn into the headwind. And as I figure out GoPro, I need to start it into the race so that I've got a little extra at the end, because I missed the last lap and a half. I grabbed, as you'll see, I think I mentioned, there's other footage here that I have at the end, but I'll explain what happened. So again, I just took that pole into the wind, and then here's V3. And then Griner, and I don't know if Griner and Flembo are taking different turns. Flembo comes through. So basically Griner skipped a turn there. And I don't know if that was intentional or if, because everything's starting to get soft now. That was a pretty soft turn in the tailwind. Everyone's looking back. Are we going to get caught? Do we start playing cat and mouse? Flembo's on it. Cleveland Cycle Academy. So now I'm just like, screw it. We got to make a move. We got to stay ahead. We still have a lap and a half. And so I make sure we get to the far right so we can pedal through this turn and just stay super consistent. And what we need is Griner's power coming through again. And he did. He makes a really good pull in the wind here. Again, so V3 and Flembo just skipped poles. And now I'm thinking, okay, screw it. We got... I need to make sure we stay away. Tries to elbow me through. I tell him I'll grab it at the next turn or before the next turn, which I did. And then I'm missing the last lap of this, but you'll see us come in at about this point, maybe even a little closer to the turn, I attack on the last lap and cause a flyer with the idea that Pip can stay on Bo's wheel. But as you'll see from the finish, and I'm coming on, I'm on the right-hand side, screen left, rider's right-hand side, I say on the right. Bo just opens up a monster sprint, V3, then Pip, then Cleveland Cycling Academy, then me. So 5th place, got Pip. We got Pip 3rd. Bo just had a really big day. Thanks for watching.